Hi, and welcome to Truth or Politics. I'm your host, Darlene Price, and tonight we are going to cover multiple topics, and we're probably going to go over. So for our TV people who will be watching this, I think live tonight and again later on, I'm sorry this is going to go over. But I don't know, last time I said that we only went over by 5 minutes. Anyways, I'm going to perform a miracle tonight because we're going to talk about multiple topics, and then I'm going to tie them all into one topic. So I think. And that topic being whistleblower protection. First, I want to say thank you all for joining us again, and thank you for our loyal followers who follow us on Facebook and on YouTube and also on television. We want to thank NBR TV, Steve Hall, our owner-operator, for giving us a hour, almost once a week, well, 2 or 3 times a month, a free hour. You people on TV, you're not watching any commercials because he believes that the news should be free and accurate and should not be bought off or controlled by corporate entities. So Steve Hall, you are our hero. We also want to thank Michael Mann behind the scenes and everybody else, all of our killer bees and insiders and everybody makes Truth Politics. And Dan the Man Gibson, our hecklefish, as he calls them, out of Pulaski County. So thank you to everybody for joining us tonight, and we will try to get through this as quickly as I can. And first I got an announcement to make. Law Enforcement Day in McCreary County. On June 24th at the McCreary County Park, they're going to have Law Enforcement Day. Excuse me. Starts at 11 o'clock. Everything's free. They're going to have free food. They're going to have probably the biggest bouncy house I've ever seen in my life. This thing takes up like a city block. It's just like a whole obstacle course. Or one of these bouncy houses. They're going to have a helicopter land. They're going to have a dog demonstration with the shoots and dog demonstration with the sleeve. Last time we did this, I was the bitey. I was the one the dog was biting. I can't do that this time because I'm going to be playing music. We're going to have a live band. My band, Austin's Basement, is going to appear. We start at noon and we'll play till 4. But they're going to have this stuff all day long. A Dunkin' booth. They're going to have the Jaws of Life out there doing a demonstration on, how to prize somebody out. There's going to be fire departments, fire engines, and everything. So bring your family. We did this prior to COVID, and we haven't done it since because COVID kind of shut everything down. So we're trying to do this again. This is sponsored by the McCreary County Attorney's Office and the Commonwealth Attorney's Office are both pitching in, and we're trying. We got there are going to be a lot of giveaways, drawings. They've got, you name it, and they're giving it away. Bicycles, you name it. So come on out. Again, June 24th at the McCreary County Park. Everything's free. You don't have to pay for anything. And am I forgetting anything? I think that's it. Good music, good, cool stuff. Definitely worth coming out, and you get to see all kinds of cops. And I started to say cops and robbers. Hopefully not robbers. But fire engines, that kind of thing, and a helicopter.
What time and where?
Noon at 11 o'clock to 4, McCreary County Park. Okay, so we're going to get this party started. First, this just came in, and right off the press. So I'm just going to read some of this. Please go. I have posted this article. Please read the whole thing yourself. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's by Breaking Through News is the news program written by Sam Orlando. It's called "A System in Crisis: Allegations of Corruption and Neglect Plague the Pulaski County Sheriff's Jail in Kentucky." Somerset, Kentucky, as allegations of corruption and negligence continue to surround the jail system of Pulaski County, Kentucky. Former inmates and their families are speaking out. Reports suggest that the jail, built to house 100 inmates, often holds over 400 individuals and has been known to reach capacity of 600 to 700. Critics argue that the facility is understaffed, underfunded, and under scrutiny. Heather Pointer, a Pulaski County resident, has shared her experiences with the local jail system. Pointer alleges that the inmates are frequently treated poorly, likening their treatment to that of a dog. She describes the environment where the guards and staff show little initiative to providing assistance or information. Furthermore, Pointer claims that deaths due to the medical negligence and wrongful arrest have occurred without the necessary scrutiny or follow-up. This article goes on and on and on. That's the gist. That's probably my phone. That's the gist of it. Please read the whole thing yourself. I wanted to get into this a little bit, though, ahead of time. 7 years ago, I was the investigator on a civil case that against the Pulaski County Sheriff's Department that went all the way to the Supreme Court. My husband, Austin Price, was the attorney back then for the client. And what happened was, try to Reader's Digest story this, an inmate they had a work project or something outside. And so I guess it was cold weather, and so they had a little fire so people go warm themselves up. And one of the jailers decided it was a good idea to make a Molotov cocktail, and basically throw a Molotov cocktail at our client, the inmate. And I'm laughing. It's not funny, but just you have to laugh to keep from crying sometimes the stuff that we report on. So anyway, really damaged this guy's leg, burned it real bad and everything. So the inmate files suit. We handle the lawsuit. I do the investigation. My investigation revealed that this jailer was not only doing that, basically he was torturing the prisoners. He was like, he thought it was fun to make them eat bugs. You know, if you eat these bugs, then you can have this cereal or whatever. And he was just doing all kinds of things. And this had been going on for a while, and people have been reporting it, and the Pulaski County jail system just didn't do anything about it.
I'm sorry, when you investigated this, did you determine through your investigation that it was true that he did this?
Well, yes, I did, and it was verified through the highest court in Kentucky, the Supreme Court.
Okay, can I ask you another question?
Go ahead.
How much time did he spend in jail for setting
Oh,
this
the
man
jailer,
on fire?
nothing. He nothing happened to him. In fact, he continued working there even after all these allegations for a while. I think by the time it went to the Supreme Court, they realized it would look bad to have him still working there, so he was gone. Okay.
So how did they say that was okay? Sovereign immunity? Did they say that?
Well, first they screamed sovereign immunity, and we've talked about that in relationship to the Pulaski County City Council and the mayor and Leachate and poisoning the lake. Okay. They screamed sovereign immunity. And the first courts, said, yeah, they have sovereign immunity, you can't sue them. So we appealed to the Court of Appeals. Court of Appeals said, no, you can't torture prisoners. So then Pulaski, I hope I'm doing this right. And Pulaski, if this is best of my recall, Pulaski County Sheriff's then appealed it to the Kentucky Supreme Court. It was kind of funny because, when you appear in front of the Supreme Court, that's kind of scary. I mean, that's you better have your ducks in a row. My poor husband, he practiced it and everything because you were arguing in front of the Supreme Court. So me and Vicki were there, and we were
the rules are so strict.
Oh, they're strict. You got to be, you got to stand in front of the podium, and you only get so many times.
It's so strict that you're allowed to say certain things and nothing more, and they'll shut you up.
So he gets up there ready to argue his points, and what was kind of good but kind of funny is the Supreme Court justices took his argument away from him. They started arguing his argument for him. So he's just kind of like, okay, now what do I do? But he did real good, and we won. So that is a Supreme Court case against the Pulaski County jail system that they basically allowed a jailer to torture prisoners and Molotov cocktail a prisoner. So that's something I have a little inside information on. We have some other.
Can I ask a question?
Shoot.
Now, so you won. So you got a monetary settlement for that.
Yeah, or our client did, and we got
and you got a fee.
Right.
Now, but yet no one was held accountable for setting the man on fire.
No, nothing happened to the jailer.
So essentially,
I mean, he eventually he was gone. He lost his job.
Was the taxpayer in Pulaski County?
Pulaski County taxpayers had to pay. Yeah.
How wrong is that?
Way wrong. It shouldn't have had to go to the Supreme Court either. Okay, but that's okay. No. That's the fist bump. Good points. All good points. Okay, so moving right along. Now back to the Leachate issue. Monday night they had another city council meeting and packed house again. One of the things that we had heard from some reliable sources was that, and keep in mind, backing up for those of you who are new here, let me back up real quick. Got to recap because I know we got a lot of new people here tonight, just now starting, and we got some people in some other counties because they're going to launch Truth or Politics out in Northern Kentucky. Okay, what happened was, I'm going to Reader's Digest version of this. If you want details, go to YouTube, type in Lake Cumberland, What Really Lies Beneath, parts 1 and 2. That's Lake Cumberland, What Really Lies Beneath. We did a whole documentary. He and I and several others and Michael Mann, we all spent 2 years on this, okay, putting this documentary together. Basically, The mayor of Somerset decided on his own, we found out later, he decided on his own to bring in, at this point, we estimate close to 70 million gallons of toxic waste from 4 different landfills, okay, in the form of what's called leachate.
Well,
Okay.
one more question. Wasn't that from industrial toxic
Industrial,
waste?
yes, industrial toxic waste, industrial landfills. Now these landfills, good point. These landfills accept demolition industrial waste. That means they accept asbestos, the worst of the worst crap. And what happens with these landfills is rain hits them, it goes through, then all of this horrible stuff, chemicals, all consolidate into the liquid at the bottom, and that's controlled. The federal and state EPA controls this liquid called leachate, or it's called trash soup, or myriad of what were some of the things that one guy called it. I forget what he called it. Anyway, trash soup, whatever. So then they have to haul this trash soup leachate somewhere, and what happened was Mayor Keck, the Somerset City Mayor, decided it was a real good idea to bring it and run it through their highly defective wastewater treatment plant, which runs into Pittman Creek, which runs into Lake Cumberland, which runs into the Cumberland River, all the way down to Nashville.
Can I ask a question?
Quick.
Did he say why he did it? Didn't he say he did it for the revenue?
Yeah, he said in one of the questions that this is a series of meetings. We were fighting this for 2 years, I think it was. That some lady out of asked, why would you take this chance for such a little amount of money? And his answer was economics. Okay, so we got that stopped. Okay, and I just want to say there was a lot of people that really, it's scary to stand up at a city council meeting. Not for me, when you're like me, you get used to this. Okay, people say, oh, weren't you scared? It's like, I do it all the time. I have training to do this. For the average Joe and Joette out there that got up there and spoke and told their stories, fighting this with us, and some of the good people who they risk a lot, who fought this. You guys are the heroes. You really are. And for the people, the insiders, the whistleblowers that fed me information, for me to get this story and then fight this, you all out there are the heroes, and I just want to personally say thank you, because what happened Monday night, finally, the city council meeting 2 weeks prior, Mayor Keck said he put it on the agenda, that he's going to have an expert from the state EPA come down and give a speech about leachate. And what he was going to do, obviously, was he was going to have this guy come and tell us, all the warm, fuzzy reasons why leachate is fine, and we're all wrong, and he's right, and all that. That's what was going to happen. Well, the guy never showed. And finally, Monday night, we were ready to do battle again, because we thought he was going to use the budget shortfall in the Somerset City budget to bring up leachate again. And I think he was going to do that. So he says he wasn't, but, I don't believe that for a minute. But Monday night, he said at the citizens' comments, when you get up and talk about that, he says, we welcome the citizens' comments as long as they're not about leachate. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. He said, it's been voted on, it's over. I don't have it right in front of me. Words to the effect. You can go watch the city council meeting.
He said leachate is over.
Leachate is over. So.
Only problem is they're still hauling it.
They're still hauling it. Okay, so here's the sitch on that, because I've gotten how many, but I still, those tanker cars are coming in. Okay, so what happened is several city council meetings ago, like 2 months ago, I guess, the whole city, once we put enough pressure, and all these people, we're talking packed houses at a city council meeting, 50 to 100 people showing up, and thank you guys for doing that. You have no idea what good you have done here, okay? The city council voted unanimously to stop leachate. Okay, here's
what they voted, stop it now.
Now, stop it now.
But that didn't happen.
Okay, so Mayor Keck, who, by the way, this was a contract. It's important to note that this contract, let me hear. This was a contract that had a sundown clause of 90 days, which said once it stopped, once you give notice, the trucking company has 90 days. Okay, but this contract is a contract that nobody got to vote on. We found this out through several city council meetings. The city council didn't know about it. They never voted on it. The city attorney admitted that he never read the contract. and the contract was only signed by a city employee who really had no authority to do that, other than Keck saying he gave her the authority, okay? And the contract was written by Watco for Watco, that's the trucking company that brings this in, only to benefit Watco. Now, if that ain't a big piece of...
Could I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Do you know how much per gallon that the city was getting to dump it?
I don't know.
And do you know how much per gallon the trucking company was getting to dump?
That was brought up, and then
Yes.
he also gave them a penny off, like 6-8 months ago, because he gave Watco another penny, which turned out to be, I forget the math on that, but it was hundreds of thousands of dollars.
No, millions.
Well, I don't know about millions, but
Yes.
it was a crap load of money that the mayor,
Many millions.
without anybody voting on it or anything, just decided he would give his buddy, Shane at Watco, a bonus. So, here he is giving Shane Watco a bonus, and now they got a deficit shortfall. We also had exposed that the mayor of Somerset had spent, over $20,000 in under 2 years on lavish vacations. I have posted that. Go to Truth Politics or YouTube, and I've posted all the amounts and the monies and the actual receipts where...
To Las Vegas and to Key West.
Key West and everything else. So...
on the city's dime?
On the city's dime. Taxpayers paid for it. So, and he also caused the city to pay for $1 million property. Actually, it's $1,400,000, I believe is what he said. The attorney that got up spoke Monday night. $1,400,000 on a piece of property for the mayor to build a private university. Now, I don't know how that works. And now he didn't build a university, and now they're sitting on it. So, here's what I'm going to recommend. I stole this idea from somebody else, and it's a great idea. And the guy watching tonight, thank you for giving me this idea. And I think that this guy might even show up to the next city council meeting and present this, because they're discussing the budget right now. And that is, this city council needs to vote on and construct an ordinance that says that Mayor Keck and no future mayor can spend that kind of money on vacations and stuff without approval and voting on by the city council. There should be no contract signed by a city employee. This mayor should not be able to just run out and commit the city taxpayers to, $1 million piece of property, and the city council don't know about it and don't get to vote on it.
The question is, if he can do that, what do they need the city council for?
Well, here's
All
the
they
thing.
need is a mayor, if he's going to have that kind of power authority. I don't think he had that kind of power authority.
Well, there needs to be an updated ordinance or something that I think they depended on the city attorney, and then this city attorney in this case has been a colossal failure, capital F failure for this city attorney to do nothing and just allow all this to happen and not read contracts. I mean, that is, that one city councilman said it best. He goes, "That's your job. That was your job to tell us about this and read these contracts." And he didn't. He admitted, "Oh, I don't read the contracts." Oh, okay. Well, duh. That guy should have been fired that night, in my opinion. But the city council up there needs to do an ordinance controlling this mayor and future mayors. You will not do this. You will not do that. It must come from the city council. Not just buried in a budget somewhere and, oh, well, you saw it in the budget. No, you can camouflage a lot of stuff in a huge, this thick a budget. Okay? And their budget's like $93 million budget up there. And what, you have to poison a lake with a 93? I mean, come on. Come on. How about, I don't think you have the crisis you have in Somerset is you have a Mayor Keck spending crisis. That's your crisis. And you got to rein in this mayor and future mayors, okay? So, because, he may not be the mayor next. God only hopes. Okay. Now, we're going to switch. I'm going to say this, though. One of the reasons I got that story and many of the other stories that we got out of Pulaski County, here in McCreary County, and all the things that we expose is because of insiders and what's called whistleblowers. And this is important, okay? I'm going to cover what I think is the biggest story ever The biggest story in the history is happening right now. And thank goodness, finally, national news services are picking this up. It's being covered by, Fox News, History. I tell you who's done the best with this so far is the History Channel. However, Fox News is covered, History Channel, Washington Post, New York Times, they're all covering this now. Especially this latest whistleblower. We started covering this story, didn't we, Michael? Didn't we? 8 years ago. Before anybody nationally started covering this, we started covering this I went back and looked 8 years ago. We've been on the air now for almost 13 years. We started 8 years ago. And that is a real whistleblower story. And I'm going to get into that right now. First, a little history of and I'm going to tie this for all you people who hate Trump, for everybody who loves Trump, and for everybody that distrusts the FBI. Either way, you need to listen to this story, because I am going to tie this in, and the stories I just covered, into protection of whistleblowers and why it's important. Okay, first, a little history on this, and we've already covered this. We've done a show on this probably once a year, every year, but several months ago we covered this, and I'm going to cover it again. From 2016 to 2020, a myriad of classified information and videos leaked by unknown Pentagon officials and later verified. Let me repeat this. These videos have been officially verified by the Pentagon officials as being legit. These were leaked. These are videos of UFOs. Now they call them UAPs. Unknown aerial phenomena. Okay, so now we don't use UFO anymore. I guess we use UAPs. Okay, unknown aerial phenomena. Leaked from Navy pilots. Okay, these videos were leaked from Navy pilots. This information, not just videos. Videos and documents, and also physical testimony. These are leaked from Navy pilots, Navy radar operators, Navy warship commanders, and others involving at least 3 separate training incidents. One off the coast of Baja California. That's the one, and the Nimitz one, and I think it was 2006. One off the coast of Virginia, again, and a third one off the coast of Florida. Now, you got to understand, folks, when these aircraft carriers are out doing war games, okay, you have a huge aircraft carrier. We're talking thousands of people on the aircraft carrier alone. Then you have warships, nuclear-capable warships, at least 3 of them, sometimes up to 6, going with that aircraft carrier. So you've got 3 big battleships, okay, or more. Then you have, some of the best pilots ever, Navy pilots. If you can land on an aircraft carrier and take off, you be a good pilot, okay? You have dozens of these pilots, okay? 3 separate incidences, 3 separate aircraft carriers with warships, okay, reporting this stuff. And it's been absolutely verified. Okay. The incidents of unidentified aerial phenomenon, UAP, aka UFO, were verified by numerous whistleblowers and the following: 4 different warship radars, 2 nuclear aircraft carrier radars, 9 different Navy fighter pilots have come forward, including a squad commander, Lieutenant Ryan Graves, who is an F-18 Super Hornet pilot who has been with the Navy for over 10 years, who also was a Top Gun instructor at the Top Gun school. Okay, you don't hand somebody that kind of aircraft and have access to what he had access to if you're a nut. Okay, you just don't. That's the creme de la creme. You're not going to get to be a Top Gun pilot instructor at the Top Gun school if you're crazy. Okay, also, a pilot / aerospace engineer, okay, highly regarded. Okay, literally, this guy's a rocket science. That's another person who's come forward. 4 different infrared cameras mounted on Navy fighter aircraft. 4 different ones have got these. They've released this, okay. 4 different forward infrared FLIR cameras mounted on Navy fighter, I already said that, and dozens of eyewitnesses who are decorated veterans and current military. Some of these people are still working. Here's the thing. You can't come out and say they're all nuts, they're all lying, okay? Then why did all these lying nuts have access to millions of dollars, billion-dollar machinery, and, access to top secret information? Not only are you out there doing these war games, you have access to the highest of the highest level of classified information. Now, if they're all crazy, they're all lying, why they stay working there? Because a lot of them are still working there, okay? So what happened was, last week, another whistleblower came forward. And what is freaking amazing is what he is testifying to. All right. Okay. But after all these people came forward, before I get into last week's whistleblower, in 2021, based on all this stuff, this all got leaked to the New York Times and everything, and all these people came forward. So in 2021, the Pentagon released a report, an official report on UAPs, which now UFOs, which found, listen carefully to this. This is an official report released from the Pentagon. They found more than 140 incidences of UAP encounters that could not be explained. In other words, they weren't us. They weren't somebody else. We don't know what it was. And a lot of these encounters put these pilots at risk, put people at risk. They came so close and they interfered with these war games. Okay, you're a pilot and you're flying one of these, aircraft at, a bazillion miles an hour. Last thing you want is, this thing coming at you and then making you dodge. I mean, this is a national security threat. And this is what all these people are saying. These things, whatever they are, nobody's saying that they know what they are. These things have become a national security threat. Go ahead.
Darlene, I think the general public are ready to maybe believe that we are being visited, maybe. So why are these, what is it that these whistleblowers are going to tell that's so important?
Oh, I'm going to get into that.
Okay.
The new whistleblower. Okay, but let's pad this a little bit more. Okay, these reports to the Pentagon followed the leaks of military footage that showed apparently inexplicable happenings in the sky when Navy pilots testified that they had frequent encounters with these strange craft. So not only do you have radar, FLIR, you have all these pilots and these people out there flying around saying, no, this is not an isolated incident. This has been going on for a while. We've been seeing these things for a while. And you're afraid to report them because we had no whistleblower protection. So what happened was, this is what happened. Congress gets wind of this back in 2019 when all this first broke. Congress, these pilots and everything come to Congress and say, we got no whistleblower protection. That's why you didn't know about this. So Congress then sets up in 2019, by God, you better not retaliate against these whistleblowers. They set up a system and they set up an unidentified aerial phenomenon task force, UAPTF, UTAP, or whatever it's called, okay? They set up a task force. They fund it. They tell the Pentagon, we're setting up a task force. We're going to put billions of dollars into this because we got Navy pilots out there risking their lives and other people, and they're in danger because of these things in the sky that are just dangerous, and they're interfering. So they do that. They put a guy in charge of this. Now, this is an official task force funded by the Pentagon, set up by Congress, and Congress then sets up a reporting system so that whistleblowers can be protected and come forward for this UAP thing, for the UFOs, okay? My question is, where's the whistleblower protection for everybody else? And I'm going to get to that in a minute and tie that into the FBI and Trump and everything that's going on, okay? But let us digress. So what happened last week is one of the guys who was assigned to this task force, he comes forward and he's blowing the whistle. Last week, a former intelligence officer, a U.S. Air Force officer, David Grush, a decorated veteran who led the analysis of the unexplained anomalous phenomena, UAPs, okay, within the U.S. Department of Defense agency, has alleged that the U.S. has evidence of craft of non-human origin. Let me repeat this. This is what he's blowing a whistle on. The U.S. has and has had for a while evidence of craft of non-human origin and that they are reverse engineering. Now, before you say, oh yeah, roll your eyes, another nut. Okay, let me tell you this guy's background. Along with all these other people, okay? These people are not nuts. Crush was a decorated combat officer with the U.S. Air Force during the war in Afghanistan. He was previously assigned to the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, the NGA. By the way, you don't get assigned to these kind of agencies unless you're the cream of the crop. You just don't. This guy was it. He was the bomb, okay? You don't get assigned to these kind of assignments from the Air Force unless you have your stuff together. Period. Quickly.
Darlene, when I went in the Air Force in 1966, I was sort of a whiz kid in electronics, and they first sent me to Tokyo, Japan. And the reason I'm telling you this, I want to explain something else I think that might have a bearing on what you're saying. They first sent me to 5th Air Force headquarters in Tokyo, Japan, and I controlled the nuclear missiles and the president's nuclear football for Southeast Asia. That's mostly what I did when I was there. And then they took me out of the Air Force and put me in a thing called Joint Task Group 8.6 on a little island in the South Pacific called Johnston Atoll. All we did there was top secret research on nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons.
That explains the horns that you have underneath that hat. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
I was privy to many top secret things. And they told us after 20 years we could talk about it. But some of them, even to this day, I don't think I probably should discuss. Because the technology that we was working with, and this was over 50 years ago, was advanced compared to what we think of now as what we have. I can just imagine what it is now. It'll be beyond Star Wars. It's beyond, I'm sure it's beyond anything you can imagine now. Well, just for example, we set off a nuclear device near the island at midnight at night, and it lit up Honolulu, which was 900 miles away.
Wow.
It lit it up like daylight, and was like that for several hours. Also, it burned out the transformers, power supplies and everything of the island. And we did this from 900 miles away. Now, that was just one of the things that we were working on. We were working on many, many things. But I feel sure that some of this technology may have been reverse engineered from some other sources. But I'm not positive about that, but I feel pretty sure that some of that was. And I'm not sure I want to share this information with the general public or foreign powers who are always interested in what we can help defend. We don't know what they've got either. So I'm very leery about letting the general public or these politicians that we have nowadays know everything about what we've got and do with it whatever they want. That really concerns me, because if they do, they may use it for some political purpose that would cause this nation to fail.
I hear what you're saying.
It concerns me.
But here's the problem.
Okay.
When you have a Navy pilot, many Navy pilots out there, and they're trying to do maneuvers, they're trying to do their job. And, and now we also, going back, because we've covered this too, we've had airliners, okay, pilots with jumbo jets have the same experiences where these things are interfering with them, and they're scared to death that they're going to cause them a crash. Okay, so now you're talking about a safety issue. And,
I understand that, Darlene.
but no, let me finish. When you have a safety issue like that, that puts multi-million-dollar aircraft at risk, not to mention human lives, okay? And you, as a pilot, are not allowed to report it, because if you do, your career's over, and you're told this never happened, okay? And one of the biggest incidents was that Alaska airliner, and then the regional head of the FAA was told, because he had the radar and everything, he was told by a member of the CIA, give me all of this, because he was worried. He's like, wait a minute, we need to do something about this. You know, these pilots should be able to talk about this. We need to find out what these are. Okay.
Well, here's the thing.
Wait. And the CIA said, give me all your stuff, because there's a whole room. This happened 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. So, give me all your stuff. This never happened, and you're not to talk about it. Okay. When you put people's lives at risk because you want to cover something up, that's not okay. And there's got to be a bridge between, I'm a pilot, I'm seeing things, I should be allowed to report a safety issue without putting my career at risk. That's the bridge. Okay, Congress, because of this issue, has bridged that gap. And that's why these people are now coming forward. The point that I'm going to make, and let me finish this, is what else could we know about the Pulaski County Jail, about Mayor Keck? What else could we know about the FBI and their investigation into Trump? What else could we know if we had, especially at the federal level, which is the worst? Okay, thank God these guys now have whistleblower protection. But as a whistleblower myself, I'm telling you, the people on the front lines of your national security have no whistleblower protection. They literally wrote the book on that. It's called Bordergate, the story the government doesn't want you to read. And I was going to save this to the end, but here is a photograph. I don't know if you can see it that well or not. This is me at a press conference. Look how young I am. I was like a little baby there. Look at that. The guy sitting next to me is the real Frank Serpico. I don't know if you guys ever watched the movie Serpico. It won Dustin Hoffman played Frank Serpico, and it won an Oscar. Very good movie. It's an older movie, but it's great. He was a whistleblower with the New York City Police Department, and he had no whistleblower protection, and what he went through was amazing. He came when I testified before Congress in 2021, and I testified after the Senate committee. And here's the thing. It was a closed committee in 2021 when I testified for the first time. Closed the door, because me and others were testifying about top secret stuff, okay? And then again in 2001, and then again in 2007. And he was there in support, along with the Project on Government Oversight, who was sponsoring this. Here's the thing, and this is what Congress has set up for these pilots, and anything to do with the UAPs, aka UFOs, okay, is now there's a reporting system. They're protected, we hope, although this guy's been threatened already. Where is the rest of the protection? Well, let me get back into this guy, okay, because I think it's real important who he is, okay, because this guy's not a nut. Okay, so he was assigned to the National Geospatial Interagency, NGA, and the National Reconnaissance Office. Okay, that is some top secret stuff that he's been assigned to, okay. They don't assign just any moron to that. You have to have, the highest clearances, whatever. So this is his background. He was also a representative of the NRO to the, then he was assigned to, in a management status, to the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force. This was the task force that Congress set up in 2019 after all this stuff leaked, okay. The Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force, UTIP, I think it's called. Okay, so he was there from late 2021 to 22. He was the co-lead for the UAP analysis at the NGA and its representative for the task force. He assisted in drafting the National Defense Authorization Act in 2023. Now, this is how high up this guy was. Let me repeat that. This guy assisted in drafting the National Defense Authorization Act of 2023. If you're an idiot or you're a nut, you don't get to do those things, okay? This guy's got the bona fides. So he's on his task force, and this is what he discovers. He goes to report it, and they start retaliating against him. So he leaves a job that he loves. He left because he thought it was important to the Congress. Somebody knows about this. He left the government on April 7th, 2023 of this year. Anybody that knows anything about the military will tell you, you don't get these kinds of assignments unless you're the cream of the crop, you're highly respected, and of sound mind. If Grush and all these Navy pilots, a commander of a nuclear freighter or nuclear, warship, radar operators, if all these people are crazy, why were so many of them allowed to operate, the most expensive and deadly machinery known to the U.S. government and access to the most highly classified stuff? Okay, you don't get access to that stuff until you've already been cleared. Cleared and cleared and cleared. Okay, when I worked for the government, as a special agent and investigator, first in the military, and then with Treasury, and then with DEA, and every kind of task force there was, you had to be re-cleared every 3 to 5 years. I mean, they did the whole background on you. Yeah, some places you had to retake polygraphs, everything. You don't get these positions and hold them if you're not. You just don't. These people are not crazy. They have it on radar. They have these things. There is evidence. If this was a criminal case, and I presented all of these people in front of a jury in a criminal case, and they said, I saw this. Here's the evidence, photographic. You would have a conviction. These are expert witnesses. That's who they are. So, and you would put somebody in jail with that kind of evidence. No doubt. You would. You could convict somebody with murder with this kind of evidence. So, that being said, discretion of knowledge, individuals have testified before a congressional committee. Okay, so this is some of the things that was said. He is testifying as we speak. Now, these pilots and stuff on some of the more, and I know that's what you're worried about, some of the stuff that we don't want to get out to our adversaries. They are testifying behind closed doors to that. You know what I mean? So he's not given specifics of what they're what they're redoing, whatever. But his concern is, at what point do we get to keep hiding and lying to the public and Congress about this? Especially when this lie, this is the biggest lie ever told, that this is fake. It's, of course, the Pentagon's denying this. The Pentagon's denying this, and NASA, NASA. Let me tell you something else, because I've been going back and forth about this. Somebody came out and said, well, NASA's denied it. Okay. Folks, I know a lot of you people think that NASA is like this independent space thing. It is not. Okay, it is funded by the government, owned by the government, and it takes its orders by the U.S. government and the Pentagon. Know that. Another word for NASA is never answer or say anything. That's what I call it. Never answer or say anything, because they cover stuff up too. NASA does, in a big way. So just because NASA came out and said, no, it's not happening, that doesn't mean crap. Okay, it doesn't mean crap. Because we've had moon people come out and say, no, I saw this when, I'm trying to remember, it was Buzz Aldrin, I think it was. He's been interviewed since then, and he said on one of his missions, I saw UFOs. When I tried to report it, they told me to shut the hell up. And those reports disappeared. So you even have astronauts coming forward and saying, no, this is real. And here's the thing, folks, this is creating a safety issue with not only these pilots, but aircraft, we're talking aircraft, private aircraft too. And there's got to be a way for these people to report this and not be retaliated. I got a crap load of passengers on an airliner, and And I got something that I think's going to crash into me. And I don't know what it is. And a radar, two different, because that was the Alaska thing I'm talking about, okay? 2 different radar systems tracked this thing. It was 3 times bigger than a jumbo jet. Going around this jumbo jet at warp speed that, no human could stand. I mean, this is what they have. These are facts, folk. That civilian captain and his crew should not be told, shut the hell up, don't report it, it never happened, when there's a safety issue. There should be some way. That's what's happened with this. Congress has done, and for the first time in a while, both parties. This is a joint thing. Both parties, and I know I've said this before, anytime Democrats and Republicans agree on something on Capitol Hill, worry, okay. And that's largely true. But I think in this case you have Democrat and Republican congressmen and senators creating this reporting system for whistleblowers. Now, what I want to say is this. Why haven't you done that for everyone else? Okay? We used to have, and you and I talked about this, we used to have 40 years, I'm old, okay, 40 years ago, and you remember this too, you can back me up with this. Used to have the Office of Inspector General, the OIG, okay? The Office of Inspector General, back then, had teeth. You were afraid to death of an IG inspection because your ass could go to jail. Yes, I said ass. Your ass could go to jail. They come in there and they find something missing or whatever. You feared that. And I can remember it was a big deal to try to find out, whoever your hook was in D.C. or somewhere, try to find out ahead of time. When's the IG coming? That was like solid gold information, man, to try to get that information. If you could get that information, you would be the hero of the day.
That's what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned that if Congress, they're all excited about it now, and what if they pass some stuff that allows information to be leaked that costs millions of lives instead of just one plain load being endangered or being unsafe or whatever? What if they give away some information that could cost millions of lives?
Okay, that's why you have closed hearings.
Well, with the politics we've got now, Darlene, you don't think it'll get out if they want to use it politically? You know what they'll do.
Well,
and so
there's got to be a
way.
system.
I agree, but I'm not sure it's this.
Okay, but here's the answer, and we agreed on this. The OIG. Okay, the Office of Inspector General used to have teeth. They had the authority to investigate the FBI, which now is a rogue, I'm sorry, but it's a rogue, no, I'm not sorry. This has become a rogue agency that is above the law with no checks and balances, okay? None. And they're scary. The OIG used to have the authority and the teeth to investigate the FBI, make them open their files, and if you didn't cough stuff up, they could handcuff your butt and take you to jail.
No matter who you were.
No matter who you were. Whether you're a congressman, FBI agent, FBI supervisor. Now, under the Bush administration, I'm sorry, Bush and Cheney, because of all the crap they were doing, creating phony wars and everything else, lying to Congress, they eroded the teeth for the Office of Inspector General over the 8 years. Them more than anyone, okay? And I'll be honest with you, it started under Clinton. It started the last 2 years of Clinton, and then under Bush, Cheney. So both parties are guilty of this. Okay. Here's the answer to this in a big way, in my opinion. And this is what and Congress knows this. We testified to this in 2001. Myself, here it is. Here's the press conference. And then we went in the closed doors, okay? And then again in 2007, we had so many whistleblowers testifying in 2007, they had to run 2 rooms on Capitol Hill. It was 2 days of testimony. So that's how big this was. And guess what the agreed upon answer was that Congress knew about, and nobody's done anything about it since. Give the OIG back their teeth. Give them the arrest authority and the authority to investigate the FBI, Congress, anybody, and subpoena records, and if you don't turn them over, they can go and arrest you. And they can put you in front of they can bring an FBI agent in and put them under oath and make them testify. We have nobody's doing that now.
Darlene,
Go ahead.
back in the day, when the OIG was in full force, it was a little different world that we lived in then. I'm deathly afraid to put so much power in one agency's hands because sooner or later they'll be weaponized, they'll be politicized.
Well, now we got the
if that
FBI.
happens, yeah, we got the FBI now, but what if you give one power over the CIA, all agencies like the OIG used to be, but what if they get politicized just like the FBI has?
Well, hopefully,
then we're in big trouble.
I hear what you're saying.
Well,
There's got to be a stop. It's okay. That's part of it. You've got to be a stopgap. They've got to be controlled, and that's where they used to be controlled by Congress. Except for Congress would be opted out if they were investigating a congressman. It worked. It worked for years.
It was a different world we lived in, though.
I still think it could work. I do. This is my humble opinion. I think it would work. I want to talk about. Go ahead.
I personally think we need more than that. I think we need checks and balances in that even more than we have on, like in our government. Supposedly the president checks and balances the Congress, and the Congress checks and balances the Supreme Court checks and balances it all. But I think something as important as this, these kind of secrets that we're talking about, I think it should be a little more complicated and not that simple. Because if it's that simple and that centrally controlled, people can be influenced. They can.
Well, I think
history has proven.
I think that what Congress has done in reference to UAPs, aka UFOs, is they've set up a reporting system to protect whistleblowers and to protect the information. These whistleblowers, they have been limited to what they can tell the public. Okay?
Yes.
And then there's other testimony that's not going to the public because of what you just said. Okay. That system is what I'm telling you is what we need to have for all the federal government, and we do not.
I agree.
We do not. And one of the
I don't know
enforcers
how to build such a system.
Well, we used to have it. We had it.
Well, it worked
and one
back
of the
then, but I don't think it
enforcers
would work today.
I disagree. Well, what we got now is not working.
Absolutely not.
It's not. We need to bring back the OIG to the point to where they can do what they did before.
That'd be a starting point.
That's a starting point. And we need to, Congress needs to expand this to other agencies. And, you know, here's the thing. Whether you hate Trump, love Trump, I'm not a Trump fan. I'm not. Okay? I think he should have been in jail. Here's my opinion about Trump. Okay? And why are you talking about Trump? Because of the FBI putting crosshairs on him and the way they're doing it. Okay? First off, Trump, 30, 40 years ago, in New York, was ripping everybody off. Right under the nose of the FBI and prosecutors. They all knew what he was, okay? He was ripping off, you know, construction workers, whatever. Where was all these investigations then, before he became political? Well, when you're in New York City and you're donating heavily to all the Democrat campaigns, okay, which he was, Donald Trump was a liberal. Let me repeat this for all you Trump lovers that think he's over there to the right wing. Okay, you don't know your history about Trump. He was a liberal, severely liberal, left-wing liberal, person donating heavily to the Democrats' campaigns. And now he would donate to different Republicans too that did him favors or whatever. That's why he got away with so much stuff for so long, right under the nose of the Department of Justice and the FBI. They didn't give a crap about Donald Trump. Now all of a sudden he's got crosshairs on. My concern about this, and I'm not a Donald Trump fan, is when you have an agency like the FBI that has this much unchecked power, forget about Trump for a minute, they're going to turn that power on you. And case in point, when you guys get a chance, I want you to go to YouTube and I want you to type in Truth or Politics, Jim Fowler. Okay, there's a whole hour and a half of me interviewing a whistleblower who blew the whistle on the FBI. Actually started off he was this super rich guy who was, had all the .com stuff going. And, he lived in France, he lived in America. He identified that one of his partners and one of his businesses was funneling money to the PPK, which is a Turkish terrorist organization. So what Jim Fowler does is he thinks, I'm going to be a good citizen. I'm going to go report this to the Department of Justice and the FBI. Little did he know that the U.S. Attorney and the FBI was doing some shenanigans with this terrorist and the money laundering thing. So, the FBI got turned on him to silence him. He was wrongfully imprisoned. His whole story, I'm not going to go into all of it. Please go to YouTube and watch that interview, okay? Because he's done time in prison. It's a horrific story how the FBI turned its sights on him to silence him. And got away with it pretty much, okay? Also, I want to talk about John Carmen. Senior Customs Inspector John Carmen. He's a part of my whistleblower story. He was one of the many witnesses that witnessed my former crooked supervisors bringing in 25 to 40 tons of narcotics into 5 railroad tanker cars and covering it up. That's what we blew the whistle on. I ended up testifying in front of Congress. Now, it's real important to note that the second time I was scheduled to testify in front of U.S. Congress, John Carmen was to appear with me. 2 days before he was to appear in Washington, D.C. as a whistleblower, the FBI arrested him on the most bogus charges ever, okay? We got him out early. He was looking at a lot of years on absolutely trumped up charges. My husband helped with that, and we had one of the best lawyers out of San Diego defend him. And that whole story is a book in and of itself, what they did to him, to shut him up. That's a problem. This is a real problem. We have no real whistleblower protection for the people on the front line of your national security and the executioners of silencing whistleblowers are 2 agencies, the FBI and the IRS. If the FBI can't get you, the IRS will crank up phony charges on you, okay? That's a problem, real problem. That puts us all at risk. Just think of what we could know about, if we have real whistleblower protection, what we could really know, what's really going on with the Donald Trump thing, okay? Maybe we would know more. I know we would know more. What we will know about all these congressmen up there, and that's why they don't want. The people sitting up there in Congress who can create this, they perhaps don't want this because of all their skeletons in their closets, okay?
Exactly.
Now, I'm going to talk about, we're going to go back to local, and I'm going to bring this up. Me and Dan have not talked about this because we've been holding this back to see what else would happen. Let's bring it back home. Make it go full circle. On this Leachate thing, okay, here's what happened locally. And you think this can't affect you locally, you better think again. You need whistleblower protection locally, too. And you need protection of news stories, okay? Here's what happened. Back a year and, 3 months ago, first week in April, we released Lake Cumberland, What Really Lies Beneath, Part 1 and 2. This is the documentary that Dan and I and Michael and our whole team, Truth to Politics team, out of Pulaski County and McCreary County, we made this documentary. We released it the first week of April last year. Okay? Been working on it for 4 years. Okay. Those documents and everything we released, the documents are mostly in Part 2, really did not make the mayor look good. Oh, well, I don't care. Okay? We're at it. That was on a Sunday that this got released. You posted on that Sunday. That Friday, me and Dan, and we had a crew up there and cameras and everything, we're at a function at this big marketplace in Pulaski County. There was like 200 people there. We were there to film the Secretary of State. Okay, that's what we were there to do. This place is set up, it's long. The speaker's here. We're way over here in the corner. The entranceway is here. So in other words, you have to walk through these 200 people to get to where we were at. I had never met Mayor Keck, didn't know him, didn't care, okay? Just heard his name because of all the whistleblowers and the documents and everything. So, we're there filming. All of a sudden, Dan goes, here comes Mayor Keck. And so I looked and he goes, that's the guy walking towards us. Okay, Mayor Keck, keep in mind, this is right before the primary election for mayor. Now, he's walking through a whole audience full of people trying to talk to him. And he's campaigning for mayor. And he's blowing them all off. Okay? And he's feeding right towards us. I mean, with a method, he's pissed, He's coming towards us. He comes on. I said, Dan's like, here he comes. And I'm like, good. Roll tape. Roll cameras. I said, we'll interview him. So he comes over and he introduces himself. Hi, I'm Mayor Keck. And I said, hi, I'm Darlene Price. The first words out of Keck's mouth to me, let me say this again. The first words ever out of Mayor Keck's mouth to me were, in front of witnesses, by the way, "I know who you are. The sheriff pointed you out to me." Right? Okay. That night, Dan Gibson gets a phone call from the Pulaski County Sheriff's Department telling him he's under investigation for stealing a car.
Car theft.
Car theft. Okay. That, we're going to Reader's Digest version this because we're past 7 o'clock, but that bogus investigation, you know, we did a really good job.
Thank goodness I had cameras
Right.
that proved it wasn't possible.
First off, the night in question that he supposedly stole this car, he's at a big function and there's all kinds of cameras there. He can't be there and steal the
there were
car.
also cameras at the location where they said the cars were stolen from.
Yeah, and so it was a bogus investigation. It was bullcrap, and it was designed from the get-go, from the sheriff, in my opinion, from the sheriff's department and from Mayor Keck. You know, the sheriff pointed you out to me. I don't believe in coincidences. Okay, not like that. Okay. Then later on, and I'm not going to mention this guy's name. Don't mention the guy's name because.
Yeah.
Don't mention his name. Okay.
No kidding.
No, he is. Okay, so I send him and Barb in. I instruct them. This is what I want you to do. I want you to go in the Pulaski County Sheriff's Department. Okay. I want you to take an open records request, have it already filled out. I want you to go in there, and I want you to surreptitiously film them, you know, without them knowing it, which is fair game, okay, because that's a public place, okay. Little law here. You have no reasonable expectation of privacy in a public place, especially in the foyer of the Pulaski County Sheriff's Department where they're filming you, okay. They filmed an individual who came across like an ass, okay, sorry, but it's true, and they got it all on film. Okay, we then took this investigation, we found out some other things, we hit them with open records requests and all this, we sent it to the Attorney General's office, and I will say this, the Attorney General's office did an excellent job, they sent somebody down.
But to this day, they have never answered that open records request.
Well, no they haven't, but the guy that we got on film is gone, okay, he retired. And the investigation went away because it was bogus. Okay. Now, did anybody, you know, get fired? Did anybody? No. Something should have happened more with that. But at least the Attorney General's office did more than the previous Attorney General ever did. So I will say that. So this is why whistleblower protection is important and protecting our news media is important. Because you have no idea how many times since we've been doing this, little subliminal threats have been made to Truth or Politics from, I can't remember how many threats we've got over the years. In almost 13 years, Michael's shaking his head, yes, you can't know the amount of threats in writing, not in writing, because we were exposing people. And I think we counted one time, 19 people lost their jobs because of what they did. We just exposed it, and I'm proud of that. I'm not apologizing for that. 19 people thus far and counting have lost their jobs because of stuff that we've exposed. And needless to say, these 19 people and all their buddies and families don't like us, and we don't care. But when you're exposing waste, fraud, abuse, corruption, you know, in government and public officials, someone needs to protect whistleblowers. And certainly, our U.S. Congress has done a good job so far in protecting these whistleblowers, these Air Force and Navy whistleblowers. And I think this is important. Here's the thing. We need this for all whistleblowers, all of them. And I will say this. The state of Kentucky has laws that are actually better than the federal government, okay? And those laws were just recently tested. We had, and I've talked about this, back when we exposed the Pulaski County evidence room and all that mess, right? We found out that, and I wrote an article on it, you can go read that article, that this is a problem all across the state of Kentucky. The evidence rooms in the state of Kentucky, there's no check and balances system. So what else we found out was 3 state troopers from the state police filed suit. These are 3 separate evidence rooms from the Kentucky State Police where people were stealing evidence from. Okay, shoes, you name it. Computer stuff, kind of like how the Pulaski County evidence room, right? So these three state police officers, one of them I think was a lieutenant, I think there was a sergeant, and then a regular state trooper. They were trying to report this. Look, we got morons coming in here stealing evidence. What does the Kentucky State Police do? They go after the people reporting the stuff. And so they went after them. They retaliated against them. Hold on a minute. The Kentucky laws, which are actually pretty good to protect whistleblowers, afforded them the court systems, and they got to sue. They sued the state of Kentucky, the state police, and they won. They all got right around 900 grand, I think, just each for whistleblower. And the retaliation was bad. I mean,
once again,
taxpayers paid for it.
Yeah.
But no, nothing ever happened.
Punished, but just it cost the taxpayers money.
Right. These guys lost their jobs because they had to, because they were being retaliated against so bad that they lost their jobs, and the taxpayers paid a lawsuit. This is why you need an OIG, so to speak, in Kentucky that we don't have.
Please help us. We don't get paid a dime of anything for these things that we're doing. We do it simply because we care about you and our children, our grandchildren. We don't get paid a dime of anything.
Right. And in fact, somebody...
please help us. We were doing this because we're concerned for your sake.
Recently somebody made that accusation. I ain't going to mention her idiot name, okay, that we're all getting something out of this. No, we're not. Truth or Politics is a solely volunteer organization. And we have lawyers, more than one, several now, that volunteer their time, volunteer information. We have people in Pulaski County now. We have people in Louisville. We have cops, former cops. Russell Springs. Hopefully we're starting one up in northern Kentucky. No one's making any money off this. We are not making, in fact, this has cost us. Everybody involved in Truth or Politics behind the scenes have put money into this. It's cost us money because our teams believe that what we're doing is what needs to be done because nobody else is doing it. And you've got official news, we're official news reporters too. Officially, we are now recognized by the state of Kentucky news organizations, okay? But you have newspaper organization stuff. I've had people from newspapers tell me they're told not to cover stories because people will pull their ads. Money. Or people, or it'll look bad because of their politics. We don't want to make this governor look bad, so we're not going to cover this story.
Please believe that we don't tell you anything that we don't first document 10 ways to Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, we've lost, at least 19 people have lost their jobs, and because of the honest, good reporting that we've done. And we have not been sued yet because we're right. We have this stuff to back it up. Okay, we are over. We only went over only 8 minutes over. I can't believe we did that. What did I not cover? What did we forget?
You covered it all. I think it was a great show.
I can't believe that we did this. Wait, I want to say this. I did miss something. This Grush, this is the whistleblower that's just coming out, who's testifying now. He's had former people back him up and say, no, this guy has thousands of pages of transcripts. He has other knowledgeable individuals who have testified for a congressional committee that have, okay. This is what one of the congressmen said. He said, look, Grush and other knowledgeable individuals who have testified before this congressional committee, this is on the UAPs, have little incentive to lie. Here's why. Knowingly, there is a law that says knowingly and willfully making false statements to any intelligence community, Congress, or the Inspector General carries the risk of financial penalties and imprisonment. And let me hit this. Before I testified before the U.S. Congress twice because of what I was testifying to. And you can read more about that. Cheap plug. Bordergate, the story the government doesn't want you to read. You can go online, order it at all over the place. Anyways, before I testified before the Congress, you were led into a room. You were told you're going to sign this. And you knew darn well, it was basically your rights waiver warning. If you were caught in any way, shape, or form revealing classified information that you weren't supposed to reveal without prior approval. I had prior approval. Now, when the cameras were on me, and you can go, this was carried by C-SPAN, CNN, and everything. There was things I was allowed to say publicly. But also, and behind closed doors, I testified to more top secret stuff, okay? How surveillances work, that type of thing. That's what's happening here. Okay, I had to leave my job because I was being so retaliated against. Me and John Carmen and other people, everybody resigned. We had to leave our jobs to be able to do that. You should not have to leave your job because of retaliation. Because you're daring to speak truth to power. You're daring to tell the truth about something wrong. Okay? That's what whistleblowers are. And that's what they're trying to do. And all I'm saying is this. Can you imagine the waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption that we could put the kibosh on in Congress, at the federal level, at the FBI, you Trump lovers, Trump haters, all the truth, so we could really find out if the OIG had teeth and there was some control and a way for whistleblowers to be able to come forward and tell the truth without retaliation. This system needs to be spread throughout the land. That's all I'm going to say about that. I tied it all in. I can't believe it. Anything else? Hecklefish, what's the last word?
I think it's a great show.
Thank you. Okay, folks, we did it. We're 11 minutes over. I want to, again, thank Steve Hall for our TV program, who puts us on local cable access. That's another thing, too, folks. You know, our TV owner-operator, he could be making money. He gets calls all the time. We're his most popular show, period. People want to run ads. He won't do it because then people who run the ads can say, tell her to shut up or I'm going to pull my ad. So he agrees that this kind of news needs to be free. So Steve Hall, you're my hero. Everybody behind the scenes, Michael Mann, Dan Gibson, everybody, all you people out there that help us continue to do what we're doing, thank you so much. And we will see you next time on Truth or Politics. Thank you.